Today's topic, why you will get canceled one day. Yes, you will get canceled one day. I'm your host. Now, yes. One day you will probably get canceled. And by canceled, I mean have your social life or career ruined by something you said or did in the past. Okay? Now, keep in mind, this is merely a prediction based on the trends of today and will likely continue in some form based on the history of human nature. What do we know about human nature? For one, it is part of nature, that is Mother Nature. And one rule that Mother Nature follows is the rule of evolution. Now, I understand that there are still some people who do not believe in evolution. And if that is you, then this video may not work for you. You might as well leave right now. But for those of us who understand and believe in evolution, we understand that over time, things change and evolve to match the changing circumstances in the environment. Okay? And evolution is inherently progressive, not politically progressive, just transformative and adaptive. It progresses over time and changes over time. One scientific rule of evolution many people are not aware of is that evolution never goes backwards. It never goes in reverse. This means no creature will ever evolve into an earlier version of itself. For instance, a human will never evolve into an ape. An elephant will never evolve into a woolly mammoth. A lion or a modern tiger will never evolve into a saber-toothed tiger, okay? It is always progressive, transformative, and it always brings something new. Evolution brings something new to the table, and never something old, okay? Now, there's an old saying that says, history repeats itself. And this is true in the short term. A few generations of human behavior might seem like a long period of time to us, but from an evolutionary standpoint, this is a small blip of time that is barely significant. Now, getting back to why you will get canceled one day, this rule of evolution also applies to human culture and the evolution of society itself. Societal norms will never go in reverse. For instance, we will never go back to the 1800s from a cultural standpoint, regardless of what happens in the environment. Okay? So what does this all mean? What does this all mean? Well, as social norms change over time, old behaviors become unacceptable. Before the internet and social media, it was very hard to really dig up the past of someone to find out everything they ever said or did. At best, you can find records of things like property they owned, schools they attended, jobs they held, marriages they were in, etc. But you could not find various examples of videotapes and recordings of them doing various things, saying various things. That was something you would not find. You would not find video of them as a 5-year-old saying something racist or sexist. That you would not find. A person growing up in the 1940s who engaged in very bigoted behavior could reinvent themselves in the 1960s and become a loved public figure with no record of their past bigoted behavior or words. Thus, people were not held accountable for their past unless they engaged in crime. Okay? In the past, people lived more private lives, and only their public behaviors were well known. Okay? Now, the growth of the internet and social media has continued to erode personal privacy more and more every day, every month, every year. Okay? Smartphones can take instant video and audio in any situation. Cameras are everywhere. Anything a person says or does in the company of another person can be recorded and saved forever and made public anytime later in that person's life. So, for a generation growing up in a world where there is very little personal privacy, things are going to be very different, okay? The actions a person takes in their youth will likely be recorded. Many young people today aspire more to be YouTube stars than to have real jobs, which is a new phenomenon. It is very hard to avoid being recorded or on camera if you have any social life whatsoever. Many employers, for instance, want to look at a person's social media accounts when they apply for a job. Okay? When young people grow up with the majority of their lives recorded and exposed publicly before they can even find out their true identity, this can leave very little room for anyone to fully escape their past. In the future, a mature adult running for public office can expect to have hours upon hours of video and audio of their youth available to the public to see. Things they said in college, things they said in high school, things they did as a child, all public, on video, recorded in high definition. Okay? The words they said, the activities they engaged in, the hobbies they had, the things they owned, nothing private. Behavior that is acceptable in the culture today can very well be unacceptable tomorrow. So what happens when someone in their 40s or 50s tries to change careers? A simple internet search might have video and audio of them saying or doing something that is totally unacceptable by today's standards. But at the time they did it, it was perfectly acceptable. But today, it is considered disgusting. What do they do? How do they escape this? Now, getting canceled does not always mean your entire life is ruined. It only seems that way because when public figures get canceled, they tend to lose their prominence in society. They tend to become less visible. But getting canceled simply means you are banned or blocked from a particular space you were once welcomed in. Okay? And often for life. To give an example of how the average person in the future might get canceled, let's say the average person goes to school. They get a law degree. They become a very prominent and successful lawyer. Then their law firm finds a video of them from 10 or 20 years ago saying something negative about the very law firm they work at now. This will now be held against them and they might possibly lose their job and be banned from working at that law firm ever again. Okay? There are many instances of this happening as far back as the 90s when somebody would, for instance, host a particular show. It does not go well and they are banned from that show for life because what they did was on camera and can be proven for the rest of their lives. Okay? But this was something limited to public figures, and now it is increasingly becoming something that applies to almost everybody due to the lack of privacy that we now have in society. Here is an even better example. Let's say you are a person who happens to be in the vicinity of a controversial protest. At the time of the recording of this video, more recent controversial protests include the Black Lives Matter movement and the January 6th incident in Washington, D.C. Now, let's say you just happen to be in the area. You were not participating in these events. You just happened to be in the area when these events occurred, and somebody took a picture of you or somebody got you on video just being there without the context. Now, years down the road, somebody might dig this video up and recognize your face, and then claim you were part of that movement when you in fact were not, and there is no way for you to prove you were not part of that movement, and now you might very well get canceled in some way, shape, or form, or banned from a space that you now occupy due to this video resurfacing, okay? It is literally impossible to live a perfect life free of mistakes or offensive behavior, and you will never know when something you are doing today will be attacked tomorrow. In the past, this was not a problem because people lived more private lives. It was your word against theirs. Video, audio, and pictures were rare. Thus, people could go through life, make mistakes, and leave those mistakes in their past forever. Those days are now gone. Today, this is no longer the case. The past is here to stay. Your entire life is being recorded the minute you enter the world, and how this will play out in the future is unknown. There is no roadmap to the final outcome of this particular situation because we are in uncharted territory. But this high level of surveillance will definitely have an impact on how young children develop and how they live their lives moving forward, and it will have an impact on the overall quality of life, for better or worse, of everybody. Only time will tell how this ultimately turns out. Please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. You will subscribe to this channel. And watch my other videos. I have plenty of other videos. Please watch them. Cheers.